just there makes sense for me. Like, we are coming where you are, so why are you coming? So when I meet you here, I do what?
First things first. Sebo. If there are people who come to see you and you don't like it, first tell those ones. Temujia. Now, there's a feeling that people have. By you landing, it means you have lived. Because there is no survival.
Air transport is one of the safest means of transport.
No, but also in our local setting, there is a way someone who has gone through the air comes off special. So people want to receive you with a bit of excitement before other people see you.
But Kyle, I am coming home. I am coming home where the both of us live. What's the point in you coming to find me at the airport?
Yeah, but I'm coming to receive you before other people contaminate you.
That's rural urban excitement.
By the way, I also don't understand it, but because I don't do it, I've not done it. But when people do that, I think there is some sort of expression of, I think, love or whatever it is that they want to show.
No, because I imagine I come off the plane, then I see you. So what do you expect from me?
A
You
hug.
act like, hey.
You have to receive someone. A hug. Yeah? You tell them, okay, it's fine, calm down.
No.
Stuff like that.
No, please. Raymond, did someone receive you at the airport when you came back?
So that means you kind of pass an announcement, hey, ngenda kutoka ude.
Hey.
Mbasange wo.
You even come earlier because you have to go through different things so that the person finds you when you're settled.
Starting the show on a very light note here. This is another interesting episode of the Weekly Wowos. My name is Dennis Musalia, your weekly host, and I'm here with the editor of Kawowo Sports, Franklin Kawowo, and Edwin Kalkule, who's a writer with Kawowo Sports, and we're just those. I think maybe the conversation was triggered by some images that I saw, but we'll not dwell on that and just go straight into the conversation proper. And let me start with Franklin. Franklin, I'm sure you have a hot starter for us this week. There was a lot of news happening last week, but I pretty much know where you're going to go. I'm just not sure who exactly, but please take it away.
Yeah, some things don't happen quite normally. In 2018, I was having a conversation with the national team manager, Albert Ahawe, the Silverbacks basketball team, the manager, Albert Ahawe. And in that long interview I had with him somewhere in Chalwajala, one of the things that he talked about was a guy who was in high school then. The guy was Arthur Kaluma. Albert told me there is a kid, a Ugandan kid in high school. He's balling, and I will not be surprised if that boy makes it to the NBA. He's a forward, he's skilled, and that was in 2019, there and about, pre-COVID. Fast forward, 2021, Uganda has Afrobasket in Rwanda. Kaluma comes by, is someone to the team, of course. Then he was just entering college. He gets someone to the team, and he's one of the best players on the team. And for me, that was the first time I saw him represent the country, and I was certain this is a guy who is going to have a bright future. Of course, he go through Creighton University for the first 2 years of his college, and in 2023, he plays up to the Elite 8 of the NCAA tournament, national tournament. And by getting into the Elite 8, it means you're one of the best 8 schools in the country. And in that quarterfinal, they played against San Diego State. At San Diego was his elder brother, Adam Seiko. It was a story that was told all over. all over that tournament media and all that. Of course, San Diego won that game, but in that time it's when Arthur Kaluma announced himself that, look, I'm here and I'm going to be quite a serious player to reckon with. Of course, the next year he moved to Kansas State. He was there 1 year. He opted himself into the draft for some time before pulling out. In fact, he trained with the Lakers. Pre-summer league training, he had a training opportunity with Lakers that time. Then he opted out of getting to the draft and went back to complete his 4th year at University of Texas, the Longhorns, where he was, where he has been this past season. Now, I think in college sports, specifically basketball, if you're a person who is scoring 12, 13 points, that is quite a lot of points, especially for a forward. Usually, high school is dominated by guards and big centers who are going to live on that. You have to be extremely so good to be able, first of all, to command a starting place and then be able to score that many points. You know you are that good to score that many points and to play at such a serious college that gave us Kevin Durant. You know, so fast forward to Friday, when the draft for 2025 was held. Of course, a person who is familiar with Uganda, Kamal Marach, who played with Sto Oilers at the Ball, was drafted at number 10. So pretty much the meaning of that is that he is one of the best 10 players in the country. Now, obviously, Kaluma went undrafted, but he was given an opportunity to train again with the Lakers by getting a contract that he can now use to play for Lakers in the summer league. And for me, that is huge. For a guy who is as talented as he is, who has his work ethic, for Kaluma to be given an opportunity to train with the Lakers again, and given that sort of contract that allows him to play in the summer league and compete for a roster spot at Lakers, for me, that is huge, and it is my starter for this week. It is huge.
Yeah, big news there from the NBA, where our very own will it be at the AfroBasket, the one we play in Angola?
I hope so.
Most likely, we'll have some
I hope
big
so.
names.
We shall wait for when the details come. But I'm really certain, because at the time when the AfroBasket is happening, it's near to pre-season. So yeah, I hope it will be available.
My next question was really answered in your conversation. I was going to ask why Marach had more news than of course, Marach going to the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
I was wondering why he made more news than Kaluma, but clearly Kaluma still has some steps to go through before he can get to the NBA proper.
Yes, he has some steps. The thing is, obviously every season the NBA takes 60 players, whether from college or from Europe, with the runs, with every team taking those picks. Obviously, Marach was going to Phoenix Suns, but the trade, I mean, had already happened of sending Kevin Durant to Rockets. Okay, and so the picks that Rockets were supposed to have had Marach sent to, of course, the Phoenix Suns because of that trade that the Rockets did to get Kevin Durant. The magnitude of how big a deal that is that Marach was here in Kampala, in Kawempe, as a young boy growing, and obviously for a person who saw him a little bit as a young man, and of course when he played with the Oilers as the youngest boy, actually as the NBA academy kid on the team, and somehow he eventually turned out to be the best Oilers players in that tournament. It only shows how big and talented the kid is, and playing only one year in college and you go to the NBA, to me, that also shows how big a talent you are, that you in 1 year NBA team see you as a person who can make an impact.
Elevate the game. Yeah, thank you, Franklin, and you make some very, very good stories, and I've just been thinking about it, that I think our guys, what we lack is not the talent. What we lack is the opportunity to be out there and be seen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you play in our local league, you may go unnoticed. But I mean,
Most
a young
likely,
boy
yes.
from Kawempe, next thing is going to be at the Phoenix Suns, plying his trade with some of the best in the world. So what we genuinely lack are the opportunities to show the world what we can do, but we don't lack the talent at all.
Yeah, and look, the thing is, what that shows that if kids are exposed to the game much earlier, okay, there is always going to be big things that are coming for them. Imagine if, okay, let's say Malwach was exposed to the game at 14, was exposed to the game much earlier. You probably would have entered the NBA a little earlier. And for me, that is what, as a country, probably at this point we lack. But you can see the steps being taken with the number of kids that are being taken into American basketball system, especially the girls.
Especially the girls, yeah.
Obviously, it is challenging. It's a bit challenging for the men, given our size as Ugandans naturally. It is going to be hard as an African kid to be given the point guard opportunities. You have to be extremely, because the people who you are going to be playing with have been playing basketball since they're like 5.
Yeah.
And for you, by the time you get into here in Uganda, especially, basketball starts in the school system, high school system, most of the time. And so a kid gets into high school when he's like 11.
In Mwiri, if you're not from Bugolobi, you didn't play basketball.
even your Vuziga couldn't fit in.
Unless you're a Bugos kid, the guys will just bounce you. But I wanted to ask Kyle, and I feel that opportunity for players from Southern Sudan is also coming because it might not be necessarily important, but I feel those that have gone before them open the door for them, especially Luo Deng and what he's been able to do for them. Is that something that we miss here, that we don't have so many, you sort of have someone who puts a stone on your papers?
Yeah, of course, Deng is quite a big name. I, for one, at least I remember him attached to Miami. But I think he's a guy who has served the game. And when you look at now the projects that he's putting up in South Sudan, we must fear for ourselves, most of the people that are in the region, because it's a game I think they will surely dominate for years, if at all it clicks in well, because they've got the size and height, and that is quite a great addition. And when it comes to the talent, of course, when you look at the players that they are now producing, it's quite one to look at. But I still congratulate Malwach, because for me, that was quite big. And for him to remember Uganda as part of the story, quite spiced it up, because when he opened the court and this side was a flag of South Sudan and the other of Uganda, sometimes we are the people who tie ourselves on some of these stars. But this time around, it was him tying himself on us, and we welcomed the tying quite well, because I saw different blogs, different televisions and radios.
It was connecting the dots backwards.
Surely.
Picking it up.
Yeah, so it was quite a great week for basketball, having two representatives that are quite from the Pearl of Africa.
Yeah,
you see, then you talk about somebody putting a stone on the papers, but I'll tell you for a fact, what Claire Lamont did at Vanguard University, it's pretty much what you're talking about. The first person who comes, the president, they said, the standard that they set, I think shows a lot of what is more to come from where they come from Uganda. So
sometimes I feel like people confuse the facts that the standard is not playing.
Yes.
It's your work ethic.
Your work ethic and
how you
everything
relate
else.
with the rest of the guys.
Yes.
Your commitment to the cause.
Yes.
Are you a good team member? So sometimes Philip has done that for rugby.
Yeah.
Adrian is now in France as well.
Yeah.
I mean, when Ibrahim Sekaja went to the New York Red Bulls,
Yeah.
he's been able to bring along Kasule.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
But the Wakiso president has been so tough on Sekaja this past week.
No, no, no.
Because
Sticking with the principle of what we're talking about, we'll leave out the details.
We don't
But,
want the details.
Like you've mentioned, Claire Lamuno opening the door for Genia Sinde and all the other girls. So
And the good thing is that when Claire Lam left and the other Ugandans that have gone through the same kind of system, they have also set pretty much the same standard. They have set the precedent of it's hard work, it's learning. Of course, the brains are there. Obviously, of course, to maintain that scholarship, you have to be performing in class as well. So the standard has been set. At least as far as girls is concerned, when you have Babidi over there in college, you have, of course, Jen was there. You have the kid who was at KIU, Amanio. You have Ruth Letaru. All those kind of players getting through the colleges because of the door that was opened to start. It is unfortunate that for the boys or for the men's case, it's not the same. The kid who I thought would get the door open, I'm not really sure what happened when he went to Oklahoma. He was the best rebounder at the under 18s in Rwanda, I think in 2016, 17, and got an opportunity to go to Oklahoma for college, and somehow he disappeared through the thin air of the United States, and
some stick, some don't.
And for me, I think, and he was at the time, he was the future of Ugandan basketball, way long before we knew about Kaluma.
Oh,
wow. And his elder brother Adam Seiko.
Yeah, amazing stuff there. But Arthur Kaluma, all the best. Wish him all the best. Someday, I hope you'll be playing with the the two bronze. Of course, with Luca as well in the team these days. So, all the best from us from the Kawowo Sports team.
The younger bro, Nichiwulam, but it's okay.
We're always following you, and we hope that you make us very, very proud in your trials in the Summer League with the Lakers. But of course, the man who made this Phoenix Suns as well, a young boy from Kawempe. He tied on us, and we also tying on you. Kyle, you start off the week.
Yeah, my starter cannot be far from Mukono because it comes from a boy I've watched turning into a man. That is Jesse, Marvin Jesse, who pulled off quite a stunner, but a triple that silenced the noisy Namuongo Blazers on Friday. And to make the party fun, it was just a shot in front of the fans, so they couldn't complain anything or say it because they were the first witnesses. But for me, the beauty is that this time it happened.
I think we have
Friday.
That video from Franklin shot on his iPhone.
Yeah, because that is not the first time Marvin is winning a game for UCU in the dying seconds, because it happened as well against Victoria Crooks on YMCA. But sometimes, because it is a Sunday, that was not well documented. But also, I think the ladies...
I'll let you know. Every Sunday, our sports has the National Basketball League. So make sure you don't miss out on the action on our YouTube channel if you can subscribe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, it still happened for the ladies when they were beating KCC. That still it was Millicent Otieno pulling off that shot in the dying seconds. Now, the difference with some of these coaches that we love is that at such a moment, a coach can go for saying, okay, let's get the 2 points, or let someone drive in for maybe a foul so that we see how to level the game. But then...
Did Marvin have the hot hand that night?
Not,
when you have a hot hand, there's no point.
No player had the hot hand that night.
Not really hot.
It was generally a scrappy game. It was generally a scrappy game. No player had a hot hand.
Because if we get into details of that game, still, I think Namongo didn't handle themselves quite well in that play, just for that play. But I was still saying that we still salute the coach for saying, no, we are going to either win or lose, but we are not trying to say we are going for overtime. So for me, that was quite big, and we hope to see that this is something that can change the boys' mentality, because the way they celebrated after the game seemed like they had they had taken the title.
Yeah, that's
Yet we are still in regular time, and there's still much to fight for.
Yeah, that's a shot there from Marvin. I wish he had done what
Stephen Curry did.
Steph Curry did at the Paris Olympics after hitting the jumper like that. We told everyone good night, let's go to sleep. But a very good shot if we watch it, we were able to see it again. And let's stay with the basketball. Back-to-back defeats for in the last minutes there. Very good play from UCU. There was no one to challenge.
But we
the
appreciate
challenge really
the
came very
editor
late.
for that video.
Yeah, for that video. It was in the moment. You know, for you to be able to get that moment is also not very easy.
Because that is a moment of excitement.
That
You are
is when the
thinking
producer-
about
That's when the producer says, "Oh, Galo, shut up."
True, it was in the moment. But back-to-back defeats for Namongo Blazers. It seemed like they are going to go unbeaten in the regular season, but are they running out of steam when we are getting to the business end? And then for UCU, they're sort of growing. They are getting the momentum and growing into the whole season, which is good for you if you're going into the playoffs. When you sort of go to the playoffs with some bit of momentum. But is there anything to read in those defeats for the Blazers, Franklin?
Yes, and I want to start with that particular UCU game. Obviously, what has been quite clear throughout the season, given the number of guards that are Blazers, is that they are going to play a lot of small ball, and of course, playing small ball has its advantages and disadvantages. The thing is, if the other team decides to do the same as you and their players can pre-match you up properly, or you come in a game when the shooting is totally off, especially for the shooting guards on the team, you're going to have results as these ones against UCU. While you may be able to kind of form up plays where you probably drive and kick, where you move the ball a little bit more around the perimeter, you're going to have a challenge with getting the basket, especially getting to the basket, especially in a lane that other teams may choose to clog. So it means that at some point you're going to have to settle with taking the three now. If the three is not falling, problem start. And two, if there's not a lot of cohesion on your front court where you have to feed the ball in, that also becomes a problem. But in this particular game, I thought that Nick Reid, I think, had his pre-game notes quite on point in trying to limit what now Blazers can do and all that. And and especially when you talk to him, is that he wants to come into the game. For him, it is stay in the game at whatever point. Just keep yourself in the game. And for me, once you stayed stuck in that game, it was always going to be challenging for Nam Blazers, who did not have actually a good shooting night.
Yeah, from the highlights there, you can see two blocks there from Kampala Rockets. One of them nearly sent one of the players out of the arena.
That's somersault from Otero.
But back-to-back beats there back-to-back defeats for Namongo Blazers. Kyle, the other one, those are the highlights you're watching there against the Kampala Rockets on Sunday. I mean, what is going wrong? What's not happening for the Blazers? There's a sadness in a whole constituency in Kampala.
Yeah, we had a conversation with Frank, I think, after doing a weekly Wowos last week, and we were talking about Namongo. And I think, for me, the signs have been there that there could be some shaking of the table, but we didn't know when until UCU decided to show people how it is done. And so a number of teams are now...
Rockets picking up
are now shaking the table. But to go into the detail of the game, I still think Namongo and the coach are going to struggle to make every player happy at that team. And for me, I see the challenge coming from the point of rotation. That sometimes this team doesn't get a good rhythm. It's hard to see 5 players have good minutes together as a team. And so for me, I think it's always about tinkering. Like someone is coming in because you want to make everyone happy, and sometimes it becomes a challenge. And so I think while we get into the business end, the coach, okay, you can understand the coach that this is the time to try out a few different things. But I think when we get into the business end, he's going to have to make some decisions and say, okay, these are my players to work with, and this is the second bunch. If I'm to do any rotation, I'll just move around these other players. And that way, this team can find some good rhythm. Because as we are saying all this is a team that signed quite a bunch of players.
Yeah,
So these are players that are learning to play together. So if they are learning to play together, then there should be some time. In that game, to be specific, against Rockets, we saw Drilleba get frustrated nearly every time. They were trying to put up a certain play, and then a player puts a foot wrong. And it all turned into a bit of frustration that gets off a player, and they are no longer so much detailed or very much attentive to the game.
Yeah.
So I think as we go ahead, of course, these losses should not lie teams. Namongo is weak.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you're going to come anyhow and say, okay, now a nyumba ya yise, you might also get some bantering, because I still think this is still a team that is still better when it comes to
They can play as a
player
team.
stuff. But the coach will have to get his best bunch and then get to know, if I'm going to do rotation, let it be with at least 3-4, but not all the 12 players having minutes if it's minutes, bring them in when you have a 30-point lead. But when the game is still tight, sometimes it gets tough.
Yeah, the switching is not working.
Look, for the time that I've covered our basketball, one of the things that I've noticed with our coaches, especially coaches who handle the competitive teams, is that obviously you're going to have this sort of problem because you're going to have the best players. Okay, now what coaches do with this, I've seen it with Nick, I've seen it with when Man was at Still Oil, I've seen it with Andrew Tendo, of course I've seen it with Steven Nyaka as well. The thing is, when these coaches develop their kind of plays, they develop plays around players, and usually they pick 3-4 players, top player with whom most of the players are going to go through. And obviously, when you have a team full of guards and experienced guards, it is not going to be a problem adjusting to that kind of stuff. Okay, and I feel that some of this stuff you can see it, that there is a play that is being run, but then somebody a quarter ice, and then the play is broken there and then, and now improvisation has to happen. And when it comes to that, it has to be a smart player to be able to improvise when somebody is lost in the plan. It breaks down, and then you have to reset again. In stuff like in moments like that, obviously, you are assessing as a coach. You are assessing what is working, what is not working, and I'm pretty certain, obviously, by playoffs, every coach knows what kind of stuff works best with which set of players, and how they can exploit the opponents and the kind of stuff. So a loss like this, when you have the experience that now the losses like this, the experience that now players have, especially with the 4 guys that left State Oilers, and obviously Ochera has been around for a while, and Makiada has been around for a while. You won't think these guys are going to go back and do some sort of serious reflection on how they performed in these 2 games, especially mentally and also, but physically. Especially the game on Sunday, they seemed not to be in the game at all right from the start. They were extremely pedestrian. They were too casual. And by the time they woke up to kind of switch up on their defense or playing some sort of pressure defense on the guards and try to win the ball, it was a little too late, and Rockets had already gotten into the groove. They woke up so late, and in stuff like that, you don't want to be running trials in games where the opponents are the same that you're going to probably face in the playoffs.
Yeah.
and you're giving them some sort of mental advantage. You say, "Hey, but
Yeah.
we can
I
we
think
can compete."
you sort of give them the belief that you're at least actually you can be beaten.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you
but
come very
also-
organized.
But also, Dennis, you see, losing is more like a disease that if it gets you and you don't cure easily, you're going to become one day. So Namongo have to get back their house in order as soon as
Regroup
possible.
very, very quickly.
Because the longer the defeats come in,
Yeah.
the more it gets mental and it can become bad for them.
Bad for them at the wrong time of the season as we get closer to the playoffs. But back-to-back defeats, the honeymoon over for. Sometimes when you overwin, I saw a lot of people sort of, I don't want to say a bit happy that Namongo had
Not
lost.
a bit. They were extremely happy.
I don't know why.
You can
We
hear
have-
from the
we
voice
have
of the guy who is
people, I
sitting on
think
the
people
panel.
want to remove the dictator now. They are not,
No, for me,
Nobody's impressed with the team over winning. I think that is what it is. Now, even 16 games winning. guys
anyway,
were not
frankly,
really
they
happy.
say that success has very few
Friends.
has very few friends. But the Blazers should be back whenever they can. I don't know. I wanted to ask Kyle to just speak about the two signings for City Oilers very quickly. I mean, City Oil is not sleeping. They've brought in two new guys, and they are sort of preparing for the business end.
The man is now scared.
Yeah,
He was happy throughout the season. Now he's a scared man.
No, of course, City Oilers, we knew at one moment they are going to respond. And for me, that is the moment I was scared of most, that how do they respond? Of course, by seeing Petit Paris go to Urunani,
Yeah.
yes, you felt, okay, now that is a shooter off. And for me, that is a monster. If Petit enters in that team, then you're sure of 20 points on a good day or even above. Surely he's a guy who can shoot from every corner of the court. I recall last year in the playoffs, him shooting 4 consecutive threes against the UCU. And that is when Sifuma just slapped the man and he moved off the court. So it's quite tough. But when you look at the two players that have joined, there is Chad Bowie. The other, the name is quite tough.
You see, Chad is coming straight into what Parish Pet
No,
will do.
I'm saying the second signing, the name is
Cap.
quite tough, but we shall have to make
The name is German.
we shall continue saying it so that we get used. But both players joined from Kepler. That is one. So you know that there's been a man who has a kind heart for City Oilers. That is manager who is the coach of Kepler, saying, okay, a team yange kanja agalize. But when you look at the two players, one Chad, when you do some research about him, quite a good shooter, they say. He was the best shooter in regular season last year. So and he also comes from a basketball family. The father played in the NBA, so we are waiting to see what Chad will be
What
giving
is
us.
Bali trying to do in that play? Just sort of got out of the way and the guy
He was
just
trying to
passed
foul,
by.
but I was trying to foul, but
Yeah, City Oilers are beefing up.
So the other third signing is Momakar, but Momakar has been around. So they've made 3 signings so far that we're sure of, and we only await to see. But I can tell you, City Oilers has greatly improved. After the games I've watched them play in the second round, it's quite a much better team than it was in the first round. And for me, the person who has impressed me the most is Bolton Rujumba, because he is now putting his hands in the dirty places of the game. And sometimes this is what you want from a player. And I still think Munaba has been their best signing in the players that they got locally. And if they can just build from that, surely they're going to be another side that teams will have to do a lot if at all they are to beat them. And remember, these are people that have taken the trophy 10 times consecutively. It's never easy. They always know how to win, and so you have to do double if at all you're to take them off the throne.
Fahad
Abantu
Bali
bagambe
doesn't do
Chezo
any
still
defense.
even-
Eh? I'm surprised he doesn't do any defense. He's like just standing there and people are passing by him.
Bale?
Yeah, he's not offering a challenge.
No,
Eh?
but Bale is one of the most defensive players.
Have you from the highlights? Even Franklin is laughing They're just passing him on this side and making simple layups.
You see, Dennis, I've always said that teams always have this strategy. They're always going to look out for the weakness of the other team, I think. And at that point, Fayed was pretty much in foul trouble, so he could not throw his hands all over the place. Because you have to choose your poison. Do you want to stay on the court? Do you want to get off the court? Because you get an extra foul, you're going off. But the thing is, with how the Oilers are now shaping up, and with Titus Rual also on the bench nearly coming back, making his return probably after maybe Afrobasket, he should be around for the playoffs. It makes this Oilers side quite strong all round. Okay, it may not be as strong as it was, especially with the guards, because the most reliable guard right now they have is Fayed Bali. Koma is reliable, but he's out of legs. And now adding Bowitt means you have quite a solid front backcourt there that you're going to run against teams. And Moses Makar, the work ethic of Moses Makar, of course. Jumba is coming up. Munava knows corners around this league. So the only problem is going to be how Coach Tendo kind of harnesses all these pieces to come together in quite a short period of time. But like they say, very good players are always going to fit in regardless.
Yeah, very good problem to have there for Coach Tendo at City Oilers. As we shall bring you that table very, very quickly of how the teams are standing. Most times we talk about who's losing and winning, but you may not know where exactly your favorite team is. But for now, the Namongo Blazers only dropped 2 games, so they should comfortably sort of be in the playoffs.
Yep, they should. Of course, Namongo Blazers, the Oilers, UCU, Kampala Rockets.
Those will be the top 4.
KCCA.
Jetty, KCCA. That's what I'm talking about.
Jetty. Okay.
By either way.
Let's talk about before we leave the basketball. Jetty Jaguars, the ladies. Things yet to click. Kyle.
For the ladies, it's not sounding bells of fear or what, but I think sometimes they lose it. Some of their experienced players, when it comes to decision making in some of these big games, there are a few things that they do wrong, and sometimes it tends to hurt them. Because in that game that they lost on Friday, I still feel if Brenda Kayaga makes that layup, the game is quite gone. But when that layup is missed, on the other side, you see we shooting. There were two consecutive threes, and so
the game is gone.
They have tied the chain around your neck, and so it's gone. And surely, if you give a side another chance, because UCU had the lead, and so Jetty came in, so you don't give UCU another lead to feel like they can win the game.
Then I cannot talk about the Jetty ladies without talking about their men first. One. Coach Ulanga will be happy that George Agassi is back. I think I saw him on Sunday, yesterday at Rugogo with the team Supremo, Dr. Jetty Nyangenya, and then from the conversations, you would think there is going to be some change of fortune, if I may put it that way. You see, one thing I don't like with Jetty Jaguars, especially the 2 guys who are supposed to be leading those kids, Fadil Chuma and Peter Sfuma, you're not really sure when these guys are going to show up. You're not sure what kind of mental attitude they are going to have on any game day. There was a point when I thought, actually, that when Landry Ndikumana left Oilers, I thought for sure that Fadil Chuma, it was his opportunity to dominate this league. But he's too casual. For my liking, and I'm sure he's too casual for the liking of any coach. I of course I remember when he was at UCU, you could see the frustration from Coach Nick almost in every big game. Where you need the guy to step up is when he's a bit casual. And some UCU fans will agree that the game 7 that they lost to State Oilers, it had a lot to do with it. because he scored 2 points or something. If I remember very well, I think it was around 2 points or 4 points and something like that. For a guy like that, who you're supposed to be relying on to score that very few points and having that kind of casual attitude, because you'd imagine if with his skill set and understanding of the game, if you had the work ethic of say James Okello, what that team would be like. Okay, and obviously Peter Suma pretty much the same. He's going to come one game, he's right at the top. You think, yeah, this is it, and then the next game he comes, he's just not in it. And so that's the kind of setup that Jet has. But with George Agas coming, I think there's going to be some sort of improvement. I think in as far as their forwards are concerned, he's a good scorer. He can rebound the basketball. I'm quite excited to see how he's going to fit in, especially after being away from the game for pretty much the half of the season. But now, moving on to their women, again, I think I kind of thought of this as some sort of scoop in the conversation I had with JT. One of the questions he asked me was, should I sign a big man for the ladies? For me, as a journalist, that was news. So I'm expecting Red Jaguars to have a big man before the transfer ends today. They should have sealed a big man, because that seemed like when Omachwanga Kusanga, Joe was saying, do we need to sign a videographer? You know, they already have one in the pipeline, and I'm thinking JT must be having a new forward or center that is coming in for that lady side, and I think they are going to change a thing or two, especially when you have Tara Geno just coming back from injury. She has been in and out of the squad, and the other big man who cannot score but she can rebound so well. Masi Batamuliza, she can rebound, but scoring is a problem. So when they bring in another a big man, you think the scoring, especially in the post, is going to improve a little bit. But the thing that personally I think Coach Sudi needs to really work on, and which should be a game changer, the attitude of Azida Nawayunga. When Azida Nawayunga plays well, Jetty plays well. When she's absent, and I'm talking about big games. Big games, I'm talking KCCA, UCU, JKL, and obviously these are the teams that are going to be in the top four. Of course, they are going to be in the semi-finals. No disrespect to the other teams in the league, but and the thing with these four teams is that on any day.
But Franklin, for UCU, it might not be guaranteed. And also for the ladies, after losing those 2 points, if they mess up most of these remaining games, it might haunt them, because you see, they have the same number of wins with JT, but still they are below them. So those 2 games that they didn't turn up for,
they didn't turn up for one game.
Yeah, for that game against Angels.
But they
and
turned
you
up.
still think that is a game we could win by.
Okay, let me just talk a little bit about that game that Edwin talks about. The game against Angels. Obviously, at the time that game was happening, UC were doing their exams, and they communicated to the federation, and obviously the team that
first the league is run by a committee.
Yes. First was
Federation.
Yes, but it is a federation technically. Agamba, look, we have exams. Can we move that game? They were like, no, the game is going to happen. And then on the game, they were like, so what we would like to do is that let us allow us. We are going to be a little bit late for the game. And that was granted. Now, obviously, you have 15 minutes within which the game commissioner can award the walkover. UCU reached after 30 minutes, which was a little like 15 minutes later, but they kept communicating with the match commissioner for the game, who is Barbara Akot, that they were coming for the game, and indeed they were coming. Of course, they arrived and the walkover had been awarded. And for me, that is not a UCU problem, surely, because in all that communication was happening, I think while the rules say it is 15 minutes and you award the walkover, But if the communication was coming to you as the match commissioner, that is when common sense comes in.
I
to play a
totally
little
agree
bit.
with you. I think the dynamics
The
of
man talks
our
about
country,
common
yeah,
sense.
the dynamics of our country should give in a match official the flexibility to apply common sense, especially if a team is coming from Mukono. We know how difficult it is to leave Mukono to Kampala.
And they are communicating.
And
They are in constant
and 30
communication.
minutes, if it is 2 hours, then that is overboard.
Yeah,
but 30 minutes, 15 minutes. But anyway, they say
So that's the
but
kind of work
sometimes it depends on the official. Some of them want to apply the rule book as it is, and they want to be.
It is an amateur setting.
It's very hard for them to be flexible, but that is the basketball conversation. I will continue to remind you that you can watch the National Basketball League on Kawowo Sports every week. Just go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. You always get notified whenever we are live. So there will be different venues where we are streaming from. But wherever we are, we shall be able to bring you all the best basketball action in the comfort of your seat. Yep. We'll quickly move on to and speak about AFCON. The schedule coming out this week.
Chan,
not AFCON. The schedule coming out this week. Uganda will be co-hosting the East African Pamoja bid starting to take shape. Yeah. I'll be hosting with Tanzania and Kenya. Uganda awarded the third and fourth playoff final. But anyway, a lot of us expected maybe the opening game and the final. But Uganda itself, one thing I like from the fixtures is all the games are in the evening. So
no excuse.
We can always go and support the boys. And the beauty for me about AFCON is that all the players in these teams in this team you can identify with them because they play here locally. So we're not going to be screaming over names that we can't even pronounce. But these are very own Sechiganda and the rest. But Kyle, let me start with you. Uganda starting off their campaign against Algeria. Our next game will be against Guinea, Niger, and then we'll finish off with the Bafana of South Africa. What did you make? Opening fixture, but all the teams in that group are not very easy. Even if you had said Keneka Niger is not a simple team. But Algeria, most definitely the hardest of the teams in that particular group.
Yeah, but of course, when you look at that group, it's not the easiest you'd want. But for me, the challenge comes with the opening game. I don't know if the organizers wished us good, but to start with Algeria, surely that is not any fair fixture for any team, because first of all, there is a bit of frustration with Ugandans that we don't have the opening game. We don't have. Of course, for me as one, I wouldn't want the finals because I'm not sure whether I'll be in the finals. So I don't want the finals. But at least the opening game, because I'm sure I will play the opening game. But when you look at that fixture against Algeria, quite a tough game. And for me, I'm scared that if we lose that game, we may have quite a low turn up in the following games. So that is a game that the coaches have to look at very clearly, but also keenly, because it is going to act like a foundation for this tournament. Remember, while many think that we are going to play players that play at home and all that, we've never gone out of the group in Chan.
We are home.
For all the tournaments that we've been in. And remember, we've missed only one Chan tournament. So this time round, how you start matters a lot, but also how the organization is going to be. When you look at the organizations that have been going on, they are not giving you lots of positive mood. One, most of the training sessions are going on at Luzira, but you're going to use Nambole.
The Maroons ground.
Yes, you're going to use Nambole. The other, the coaches are working with over 40-something players, but you're going to use nearly a half or slightly more than that number. Up to now, our players are still in a non-residential camp. So you ask yourself, is the planning that keen? When you look at our problems,
what happens to a guy who plays for Chitara and he has to be in a residential camp?
then he has to look for either someone to share with the room or something. Because for me, when I look at our problems versus how we are preparing, then something is lacking. Because at the moment we are home, so we have to double our efforts so that we perform well. But again, we've never gone out of the group. So we have to work like we've never worked before. Tulina kubanga tukola double. So when I look at the organization, I still feel like it's going to be another tournament that we go in, try what we can,
We're just showing up.
then we go back home.
Yeah, Kyle, they are not very convinced that the boys can
The
be
man-
able to
the
do
man
the job.
is very emotional.
But Franklin, do you see us? Do you see Uganda going out of that group that has Algeria, Niger, Guinea, and South Africa? Is this the time for us to get out of the group? And I don't know what happens when you get out of the group. Do you keep playing in Uganda or maybe move to Kenya or Tanzania?
Mwinzi
Or
ogende
they've
wa-
decided first things first.
let's first settle when they was soccer. But here is the thing: does home advantage play a part in football, especially modern? Okay, sport, especially modern sport. I don't think so.
It does.
I think it has more to do with the preparation. The sport doesn't happen like that. The better you're prepared, I hope that is the chance of you getting the
I
result.
really told the idea is you may not be a very good team, but that's 12-man mentality.
Olaban, look, even if you have all the cheerleading or all the fans, the best fans in this world, if you are not good, you are just not good. It is just that simple. Of course, case in point
Franklin
is
is not putting plasters on any walls.
no, case in point is when we played the two teams in our group in the AFCON qualifier. We played South Africa here, we played Algeria here. I think on both occasions the
We matched
stadium,
South Africa in South Africa.
the stadiums.
Of course, Algeria took us to school.
That was a mistake in South Africa.
No,
And
we
that's
didn't-
why
we
it
didn't
did
match.
not. That's why it did not happen at Nambo. Yes, exactly. It was a
No, but
mistake.
the way the goals came in, you don't want to look at that performance
most
as a
of the
dominant.
goals were really.
Then some more concerned about what happened at Nambo. Okay, when these teams came here, the stadium was nearly full on both occasions, and I can tell you, we were not the second best team. We were probably the fifth best team on both occasions. Okay,
Which I'm
And-
wondering, which
and-
country are you guys from? Are you Ugandans?
Yeah, we're Ugandan, but I think at some point we need to look at things as they are. In terms of preparation, okay, you want to look out at these players based on what has been the performance in the league. Okay, have we been scoring goals?
Yeah.
How have our goals been arriving? Are they goals that have been created with some sort of interplay, or goals that arrive as accidents? I don't
But
think we
Guys,
have.
guys, to just be fair, the Chan tournament is played by locally based players.
Exactly.
So the Chan is sort of an indication of where the UPL is compared to the other countries.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I watch a bit of the Betway League in the PSL.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
no, but
It's
but
okay.
but Dennis,
Maybe Algeria, I would say yes, but if I'm even thinking Guinea and Niger as well.
Dennis,
Yeah,
Dennis,
we
I can.
we could be able to compete.
Dennis, I can inform you that the tournament you're talking about is a tournament we've been in before.
Yeah.
Why is it that we've never gone out of the group, and yet those are the same
Yeah,
leagues
we could
that
be
we're
going
looking
up
at?
and the other leagues
No,
are going
let me
down.
tell you. One, I will tell you more about the disorganization when it comes to our preparations. One, they announced two co-coaches in Muhumuza and Biekwaso. The two coaches are announced today, and tomorrow the team is out. And I'm questioning myself, are they the ones that picked the team?
You could have worked
Now,
via
I have
Zoom.
a source that is not the
You may
case.
have worked via Zoom.
The team was just given to them. Now, these are coaches that are going to work with the team
But
that they've
on the
not picked
overall, the
themselves.
team has some of the best players.
No,
in the league.
I'm still coming, but I've not gotten a chance to pick who I want to work with. That is already a challenge.
Ideally, you should pick the
The
best
other,
guys in the league.
the other is, but your best might not be my best. The other is, you're saying Paul
think
Put is going to be a supervisor. So if they lose, whom are we blaming? The supervisor all the coaches.
I mean, this is an opportunity for Mole and Fred Momuza to
No,
stake their claim.
but they are going to tell you we have a coach above us who gave us a plan to use, so we are not the ones losing. So when you look at all these things, you ask yourself, are we going in front or going backwards? Because some of the things we are working like we are cramming something somewhere, because now the whole thing of coaches is working in Uganda, KCC here, Vipers there, now also Uganda Cranes. We jump onto a trend that I think still will not work so much for us, because case in a point, this team for most of the countries, they normally use their assistant coaches. We have an experienced assistant coach in Sam Simbwa. Tell me, who of all those guys at FUFA watches more games than Sam Simbo? This is a guy you find watching big league, university games, school games, and you jump the man, get into co-coaches. When you look at most, then they have a supervisor, and now they are operating in Luzira, but they are going to use Nambole as the pitch. And then the people that we are going to verse in Algeria are training on grounds that have the same quality, such as Nambole. And so when you lose against Algeria, we start saying Batuloga.
but then, for me...
Franklin, I was going to ask, does it seem like we're not taking the chance serious in terms of a playing perspective, not other things?
Yeah, obviously most countries don't take chance seriously, but even us as hosts, I don't think we have had...
Sentamo got that opportunity to go to Kaiser Chiefs, I think out of Chan.
Yeah, in 2014.
So I don't think any player would want to take Chan unserious.
No, it's not the players. You see, what happens at managerial level obviously rings down to the players and whatever happens over there. For me, I always want, if you're going to assess someone, then you have got to give them powers to do what you have asked them to. Now, if you have asked Biekwas and Momuza to kind of get the best out of these players, did you give them an opportunity to be the ones to say, Onogwenjagala? Okay, now, at this point with this big pool of players...
Just a minute. At a certain interview, Muhumuza says the best player he has worked with and he rates highly is Derek Ndahiro. And Derek Ndahiro is not in this team.
Thank you very much.
So what does it mean?
That really shows that look, these some of these players are not the preference of the coaches, but
work with what you're given. Make lemonade out of lemons.
That's the point. Then how are you going to assess the person when they have you're not giving them an opportunity to choose? I don't think it makes any sense to have 40 players training for a tournament that is less than a month away almost. Okay, a month away. I don't think it makes any sense. I think as the maximum, when you're going to name a 23-something man squad, 30 players is good enough, but you cannot have... How are you going to assess each and every player in the playing system? Or pretty much coming up with the sort of tactics that you want to employ with all these people, unless you say that as coaches we have already made our choices. But also that aside, in terms of our scoring options, of course you can only win games by scoring. You have NBC was the best striker probably on the team, okay, because of the squad and all that. Does he look like a player who scores a certain type of goals, and your intention about how you're going to create for him and how you're going to create goals out of your team? You see, what we are on right now, for sure, is more of a gamble.
Dennis, by the way, that team has no recognized technical bench. We are just guessing somehow. For 2 days, those players were going to Luzira without a goalkeeping coach. And so goalkeepers were training themselves. They have been in training for a full week, and Alan Okero has been playing a certain tournament in Lango. But they've summoned the national team. And so the player is just joining in. So we don't know who the assistants are. We are also not sure of the goalkeeping coach. Of course, what we know, Bile Chigundu is working with the team. but I don't know whether he's just helping us, or he's a friend to Fufa, or he's a friend to the coaches. We are not sure of all that. So when you look at some of the things that are happening with this team and how they've prepared, if we have results that look more like the preparation, Ugandans should not be any surprise.
Naye
Because-
bagende nambole balabe games. 8 p.m. is,
Tugenda beerayo whether Kyle says yes or no, but tujja.
bulijjo sinza abasindika so mugende we mba mwagala.
But for me,
But the Chan tournament starting in August 1st for those that will be following.
Yeah.
So make sure you keep it Kawowo Sports and you get all the details and information about.
But it's going to be a great experience, and we know with
And
Uganda,
for me, that's what I want.
with Uganda,
I'm all for the experience.
we sell more than football.
Yeah, I'm all for the
I'm
experience.
telling you, it's going to be party time in Kampala.
Nighttime opportunities. So if you're around Chireka, it's going to be
Way
a very
over
good, very good month for you throughout during that month of August. But as we finish off, as we finish off this conversation, the Cricket Cranes will be hosting four other teams in a Pearl of Africa series as they prepare for the T20 World Cup qualifiers that will be happening in Zimbabwe in September. Nigeria has just been confirmed today, has been added to the series. Kenya, Namibia A team, and the UAE will be in Kampala from July the 15th to the 27th. Should be exciting cricket. Those are big name teams. It's been a while since Uganda last hosted an ODI nation. The UAE are an ODI nation. They're ranked 14th in the world. So it is going to be a big challenge for Mr. Abe Sharma and his boys. And it's been a while since they last played in Kampala in this particular version. So there's going to be a lot of scrutiny in terms of how the team performs to make sure that they can go back to a second World Cup.
Look, people will say that the first World Cup was a fluke. Now it is time to put the foot on the ground that and that starts with you beating an ODI nation. And I mean the number of games that you're going to play against it, four times is quite a good number. That is if you make it all the way. And for me, the first thing I'm excited about is that obviously as a fan of T20 cricket, entertaining cricket, that is where you're not going to have an opportunity of Okuzanya solid. Here you have to bat from right away. It's going to test a lot of our skills, especially the batters. That look, there's not going to have a chance of being. You have to be explosive right away. And for me, playing against players who are a level above you, I think that shows a lot. And the experience that we have had with playing against Namibia and Zimbabwe, that should now ring down properly to the guys that it's now a reality. It's now a reality that we now have to put what we achieved a few years ago back, and now we have to start on another journey with that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that a game between Uganda and Kenya, irrespective of where they are in ranking, it will always be a very good game.
Bondaria.
It doesn't matter where the ranking is, so it will also be a good game. 17th next month, 15th up to 27th at the Entebbe Cricket Oval. Should be exciting cricket. Uganda now completely moving to Entebbe as their home of international cricket. Sometimes a bit inconveniencing for fans, but hopefully a lot of fans can be able
extremely.
to can always come over the weekends and cheer for the boys who need your love and support. But that has been our time here on the Weekly Wowos this week. A bumper show that has been full of a lot of basketball, and I hope you've liked it. But it will be coming up this week. We'll have a conversation as we preview the Rugby Africa Cup that will be happening starting on July the 8th. Joseph Muhums and his friends will be talking about that, so make sure you keep it locked on Kawowo Sports. Again, another reminder, the weekly we are always showing the National Basketball League on Kawowo Sports YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe and keep following us for you to get that notification whenever we go live. But I've had Franklin Kawowo, editor of Kawowo Sports, Edwin Kayokule. Today has been full of rants, and I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musali. And as always, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports.
Yeah, ciao. A big man from Mali is coming to JT.